Welcome to the Ops MVS Best Practices video, Single Line Message Rule Writing. This video is one in the Ops MVS Best Practices video suite. I'm Susan Kelly, Information Engineer for the Ops MVS product team. This video will contain a brief overview of what a message rule is and section coding requirements with example code. First, we'll provide an overview of the single line message rule, then we will move on to section coding requirements and provide example code. A message, MSG, event occurs when a system component sends a message to a console or system log. The AOF recognizes and responds to these types of messages. When a system component produces a single line message, you can write a single line message rule that can respond to it in order to perform whatever type of automation you wish to code within the rule itself. Message rules typically reflect a high percentage of the total amount of rules within an organization. Over the next several slides, we will discuss the coding of each section of a message rule and use coding examples to further build upon each section of code until we have a complete message rule. Shown here are the AOF message rule sections. A rule contains sections. Each section defines an aspect of the rule's execution. The event definition is required. You must have at least one of the following sections: initialization, processing, termination. A rule must contain an event definition section and at least one other section. Each section is described in detail next. Section headers delimit each section of a rule, and each section header must appear on a separate line by itself. Begin with a character limit in column 1. The event definition section of a rule specifies the system event that will cause the rule to execute. Ops MVS uses the information in the event definition section to determine when to run the processing section of the rule. The event definition section is required and is always the first section of a rule. The event type value for a message rule is MSG, identifying it as a rule that will process or respond to a message event. Ops MVS has a total of 16 event types that it can respond to. Use this format for coding the event definition section. In the following example, a rule is being defined for a message event. The specific event for which this rule is being defined is the IEF 4501 message. The initialization section of a rule specifies actions the rule takes when it becomes enabled. The initialization section is optional. If included, it always follows the event definition section. This section executes in the Ops MVS main address space. Use this format for coding the initialization section. The example builds upon the event definition example. The OpsRex OpsInfo function is used to obtain the current SMFID and determine whether the rule will be enabled on system SYSA. The code rejects, that is, it does not allow, enablement on all other systems. The example code also initializes a static variable called tabEnds to 0. This variable is utilized in the processing section of the rule. It is best practice to add comments within your rule for ease of understanding. The processing section of a message rule specifies the actions the rule initiates in response to the AOF detecting the system event that is defined in the event definition section of the rule. The processing section is optional. If included, it always follows the event definition section and the initialization section if it exists. This section runs synchronously in the address space where the system event occurred. No other processing can occur in that address space until AOF processing has completed. This is the format for coding the processing section. This example builds upon the event definition and initialization examples. A combination of AOF tools like Rex, AOF variables, and OpsRex host environments is used to send an alert message to the Sysplex master console if the job named PRD CICSA abends. The init section runs code that will fire once when the rule is enabled. The proc section runs code that will fire each time AOF detects an IEF 4501 message event on the system, parses out the message.text variable to extract the abend code, and issues a WTO to the console indicating an abend condition for job PRD CICSA. The termination section of a rule specifies the actions the rule takes when it is disabled. The termination section is optional. If included, it is the last section of a rule. This section executes in the ops MVS main address space. This is the format for coding the termination section. You can use the termination section to issue ZOS, JES3, or VM operator commands, invoke TSO commands or clists, and reset or save variable values. This example builds further on the event definition, initialization, and processing examples. Rule disablement is allowed only at ops MVS shutdown. The example code also sends a message to the ops log with the value of the static variable tab ends, which was calculated during the rules processing section. You now know how to code a complete message that will fire the init section of the rule once at rule enablement to check for sysA, then issue a highlighted message to the console on each abend occurrence of the PRD CICSA region and its abend totals when ops MVS is shut down. This completes this video on how to write a single-line message rule. For more detailed information about ops MVS, please click on any of the icons shown to go to Product Documentation, Support, Communities, or to follow the learning paths. You can also find more videos in the Best Practices video suite on our YouTube channel through CA Education, or feel free to leave a comment on the Ops MVS documentation to let us know how we are doing by going to docops.ca.com and choosing the Ops MVS product. Thanks for watching.